Hi, y'all. I'm Obscure Girl. I like movies. I like weird movies. I like weird, trippy, obscure movies that I feel like no one has seen or is talking about. Whether that be because the marketing was so bad, or they're just old, or you're like, I think that was a fever dream I had when I was 5. I'm here to tell you, it wasn't. Let's talk about it. Today, we're going to be talking about a different kind of obscure. And on top of being a lover of the obscure, the weird, and the unknown, I'm also a huge award season junkie. And like the Oscars is my Super Bowl. So this year, when I'm watching the Golden Globes, I am seeing all these movies nominated that I have literally never heard of before, which is kind of crazy. Like, I know the award season has gotten more and more obscure in its picks, and therefore has seemed a little bit more and more pretentious. And then the Golden Globes adding in that, like, insult of an award for box office draw, whatever, meaning like, oh, we'll give the people who, go out to see the movies we'll throw them a bone because, they're the ones watching this, but, we won't actually nominate those movies for any real awards. So, in spite of all of that, I decided, as always, that I would watch all of the movies that are super heavily nominated so I can make informed decisions with who I root for this award season. I will be doing videos on like my picks and what I think is going to win versus what I want to win. I'm also, I already talked about Begonia, which was another one I hadn't heard of until award season. And so I wanted to talk about the obscure in Hollywood, even if this is a modern movie. And this review is different from anything else I've done because for the first time, I'm reviewing a film that I did not like at all. I finally watched this for the review last night. This was a bad movie. This was a really bad movie, and it is up for so many awards, and it is practically the front runner for Best Picture, which not only blows my mind, it kind of hurts. I'm talking about One Battle After Another. Viva la revolution! And because this movie was not only so long and so bad, I'm not going to give my normal play-by-play. I'll give the non-spoiler premise, and then I will go into a few details and spoilers. But mostly I'm going to be talking about what I thought of this movie and the performances and the different things that have been nominated within this movie, as well as what I think this says about the award system in general. It's not just about the movie anymore. At least not this time. And hopefully this will be one of the rare reviews I do where I talk about a movie I don't like. Because normally I'm talking about movies that I think other people might want to see that haven't been heard of as much. This one is just, I had never heard of it at all. I hadn't heard a single thing, seen a single trailer, heard a single review, and I'm a big review girl. That's what made me want to do my own, is I watched so many others, and no one had talked about this, and I hadn't even had a trailer pop up on my YouTube, which normally they all do. So what happened here? So the non-spoiler premise is Leo DiCaprio is part of a revolutionary group that is making a lot of waves in a world that is kind of just a slightly exaggerated version of our own. Slightly. In terms of the racial situation going on in America right now. In this one, it's an all-out race war, pretty much. Which, again, I'm a political person. I try to keep most of that out of my channel, except for a couple of common sense statements. But this one's going to get a bit political because this is a very political film. If that's not your bag, you have my full permission. Talk to me later. Or just, bow out and we'll come back when we're talking about some, 1970s sci-fi film or something. This one, though, yeah, Leo is part of a revolutionary group along with his girlfriend. And his girlfriend ends up ensnaring the attention of one super racist, absolutely batshit crazy person in the military, played by Sean Penn, who unfortunately is the best part of this movie because of just how crazy he is and how his acting performance is just so good. But everything else sucks. And yeah, so series of unfortunate events, and 16 years later, Leo DiCaprio is left alone with a daughter with new identities, and Sean Penn's character is finally coming after him and his daughter. That's the non-spoiler premise. There's a lot that goes on, and one of the biggest things that I kept feeling from this movie is this has a lot of elements of a bad dark romance novel. And now I love me a good dark romance novel. I just finished Den of Vipers, which was absolutely spectacular. Cannot recommend this high enough. And also, look how pretty. It's so pretty. But we can all agree there are some of those dark romances out there that are not good. And in fact, very much romanticizing not just like the fun, crazy aspects of things, but also the abuse and neglect and just bad people. It romanticizes bad people. And I'm not just saying that, like, you know, oh, it romanticizes the villain who has a soft spot for the girl. I love that. I love that. This is romanticizing people that are just bad people in terms of how they treat the person in question. And I don't like that at all. This also has secret societies and has, you know, overpowered, you know, rich people with political power, and just so, and revolution, and like there's so many elements that remind me of a few dark romances that I've read that I'm just like, all right, they're just throwing all this stuff at the page and trying to see what sticks. And this is one of that. It's not even a good dark romance. This is a bad dark romance, which is also a satire on the state of the world today, which again, that part, the commentary on how the world is in this and how it looks in our world, that part I'll give it. It was good. That was good world building. That was, you know, there's nothing really wrong with that. And even with the revolutionary group at the beginning of the movie, they were making a lot of good decisions ish, you know, like they're making smart decisions, and they were doing things in a way that, you know, that makes sense. And then they make a single decision that is so dumb and does not match the rest of the decisions they've been making up to this point, that makes everything go wrong. And that is another element of a dark romance, where these people who have all these smart decisions and have all these plans do one dumb thing to make the plot happen that is so out of character from everything else they've done up to that point. So, I'm going to start getting into spoilers at this point. Buckle up, Buttercup. So again, I'm not getting into the full play-by-play. I'm just going to do a couple of bullet points and react and things like that. This was a 2-hour and 42-minute movie, which honestly, there was way too much extra stuff in here for it to value that length of a movie. Like, there was so much stuff that could have easily been cut down or cut out entirely. I don't know. And in a world where some of the writing on this was better, where some of the characters in this were somewhat better, I would see this being a at least interesting cult flick. There's a lot of weird random stuff that happens. Leo DiCaprio is practically dressed like the dude for the majority of the movie. So, you know, had it had anyone that wasn't just the worst, minus Benicio del Toro, we'll get to him, maybe this would have been at least an okay movie, not something that actively made me mad. But again, this movie takes place in a slightly more exaggerated world than the one we currently live in. It's just very much highlighting on the situation of people being detained in kind of camps, pretty much, and the government going out and actively trying to get rid of anyone that is not white in the country, and having even secret societies of rich white men that are, you know, the ones kind of pulling the strings behind the curtain and everything. Again, lots of elements of dark romance, but anyway, and then you have the French 75, I believe is the name of the revolutionary group. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't retain the majority of names from this. Like Leo's gonna be Leo, Benicio del Toro's gonna be Benicio del Toro. I did clock that Sean Penn's character's name is Colonel Lockjaw, which is hilarious and definitely just goes to show that this is a satire of some sort. But he's still just gonna be Sean Penn. And the mom or the girlfriend. And that's pretty much what I'm gonna call her because yeah, she had a name. I don't remember it. She was played by Teyana Taylor. She's one of the ones nominated for this movie, along with Benicio del Toro, Leo DiCaprio, and Sean Penn. And I'll say you this, she did give a great performance as being the absolute worst, but she was the absolute worst. And so she is Leo DiCaprio's girlfriend in the organization. She is a hardcore revolutionary and she's a little crazy, but at least at the beginning, she's more of a good crazy. And the opening scenes are a lot of what they do in the revolution, bombing certain places, but no one being hurt, no murders, no casualties, just a lot of planned explosions of important places, but not when anyone is in them. And so they're making a lot of smart decisions and trying to release captors from these camps. And there's a funny scene where they actually do end up putting the military guys that were around the detention center into a cage, basically, which that was kind of funny. But otherwise, yeah. And also the opening scene with Sean Penn where Leo DiCaprio's girlfriend, he's being super like sexist and racist against her. And so she tells him, go ahead, you're going to talk, then get it up. And there's a boner scene with Sean Penn, which honestly is probably the highlight of the whole movie, even though it is in the first 4 minutes of the movie. So that goes to show you what you're in for the rest of this movie. But after that, Sean Penn becomes completely obsessed with her, starts following her around, and is not even trying to capture her yet. He's just, going where she goes and checking out her ass, which is nice. But a lot of this is very sexually charged as well. Again, dark romance. There's a lot of her and Leo doing it places and her getting all worked up from him talking about explosives, because that's what he does. He's the explosive guy. And just all the things that they end up doing. But then eventually, she goes from the kind of cool crazy where it's like, I'm a revolutionary and this kind of thing gets me going and gets my motor running and I'm here for freedom, even though I'm a little unhinged. And then she goes to bad crazy. When she ends up getting pregnant, it's not clear if it's Leo's or Sean Penn's because he did kind of blackmail her into meeting her up with him. And there is a scene with those two in a motel room together. So you're not sure who she's pregnant from. It's kind of hinted it might be Sean Penn because it's right after that scene that she's like turbo pregnant with a machine gun. But when the baby is born, then Leo is kind of wanting to settle down and be like, we don't have to do this. We're a family now. And she's very much like, this is, that's super sexist. And I'm not just going to settle down because we have a baby and because I'm a mom now. Also, you're way more obsessed with the baby than you are with me anymore. And she's like saying about how she's actively jealous of her daughter because her husband pays attention to her. And it's just, yeah, it's not great. And yeah, postpartum is no joke whatsoever. But what she's saying and experiencing is a little bit more, she's just a selfish, crazy biatch. So then, like I said before, they do one thing where going from all of their very planned out political things to them robbing a bank with masks off also. And what's really dumb about this too is like, yeah, they're saying it's so that they can fund the revolution, but there are other ways to get money for this. You can't tell me in the entire revolution you don't at least have one person with money that's willing to donate to this. That's so dumb. So them going to armed robbery in, the name of the revolution, that's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
And then, of course, the girlfriend ends up like kind of losing her mind a little bit. She ends up shooting a security guard and the entire thing goes to hell. No one's thinking clearly anymore. They get into all this high-speed chases for no reason. Even like my husband who was watching with me was screaming the whole time, like, you could just blend into traffic at this point. You're good. It's so dumb. And so, yeah, the girlfriend, the mom, whatever, she ends up getting caught. And Sean Penn shows up at her bedside like, oh, if only you had someone with sway that could, help you here. But you're going to have to turn over all your people. And she does. She turns in almost her entire brigade, basically. And so Leo and the baby have to end up going on the run with like new identities, new names, all this other stuff. And everyone else pretty much ends up getting captured or killed or both. So it's really messed up. They do talk a lot about the political corruption going on, especially with the police force, and talking about how it's very much a systematic like regime of racism, which anyway. But yeah, so she's a rat and ends up going into witness protection because she, told Sean Penn that she was in love with him and had to be with him, even though it was clearly the other way around. But she ends up again going kind of crazy in witness protection, and she dips out on Sean Penn there. And he goes a little insane, and then we fast forward 16 years to where the daughter, Willa, which is the only name I retained this whole movie, Willa is now in karate. Benicio del Toro is her sensei. And Leo DiCaprio is a horrible father and a hot mess. Which sucks, because you kind of thought at first he was going to be a good dad because of how much he cared about her and wanted to get her out of that. But he's drunk and high half the time, and she has to be the parent. And this is not the situation you would want them to be in. And he's still very clearly hung up on her mom, which, again, she was the worst. So meanwhile, after, him basically taking out this revolutionist movement, 16 years later, Sean Penn's character has very much moved up the ranks and ends up getting invited by the president from Scandal, which I kind of thought was a nice touch. Also, Tony from Ghost. He gets invited by him into this secret organization of rich white men who are trying to whitenify America. And it's very much, again, like this was in Haunting Adeline, guys. It's just about racism instead of human trafficking. That's the only difference. But he's getting invited, and so, like a complete moron, they're asking him, oh, there's nothing in your past or anything that could pop up that could embarrass us. No, you never had a relationship with a black woman at all. And, he denies that and immediately goes out and goes to hunt down Willa because she's the evidence, potentially, that he had a relationship with someone who wasn't white. Immediately, he's got a whole group of people doing his bidding. They're gonna find out that he's on this mission. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And that also brings me to everyone in this movie is dumb. Not even any kind of redeemable dumb. They're just dumb.
No! It's just dumb.
Or they're assholes. Or both. A lot are both. Minus Benicio del Toro. He is the exception. Again, we'll get there. So then he's going after them and everything, and the resistance is trying to pick up Willa. They're trying to get a hold of Leo, but he's so high, and it's been years, and he didn't care about the revolution at all, really. He was doing it for his girlfriend. So when he got out, he forgot all of the code phrases and everything. Meanwhile, there's a lot of emphasis too on the old resistance that was, again, they were more violent, but they were kind of doing things smart, as opposed to the current people running the resistance that are very much portrayed as hipster. I might beat myself out over that, but that's what they are. It's bad. He's trying to get, call in to find out where the people have taken his daughter, and they're getting all pedantic over, a fourth level of a password and stuff. And Leo, who's just useless and doesn't remember any of it, and he just keeps, yelling at people, kind of pulling a Karen situation. But again, it's understandable because where's his daughter? She's in trouble. He knows Sean Penn's character is going after her. And he's also, still drunk and high in his bathrobe with sunglasses looking like the dude. but if the dude lived in a basement and was on the internet a lot. And again, I really want to stress in this, the commentary on the state of the world today and the way it's headed is completely valid. 100%. This movie isn't helping that. It's just making the people that are supposed to be the good guys look incompetent and like hipster. And it's so just not helping whatsoever. And my biggest point with this is that this movie getting this much praise and this much Oscar attention is just putting a powder keg of fire under the other argument that Hollywood doesn't belong in politics. Because this is not the movie to promote if you want to promote any kind of, liberal or common sense agenda. No one here has common sense. Meanwhile, on an unrelated note, Leo goes to Benicio del Toro for any kind of help whatsoever, and turns out he's been running kind of an underground railroad, like undocumented people, just anyone that's not white really, in like the back of his apartment building, I guess. And so he's the only one here who does not seem like a jerk, who has common sense, and who is like trying to do the right thing and does it for the most part without messing anything up. And it's so random because he's literally the only one. So of course he agrees to help Leo because he finds out that he used to be in, the big resistant movement that was like such a hero to people. And it just kind of like, it's weird. It's almost like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh my God, finally, I'm so sorry you have to work with this a-hole, but finally someone with sense. And so, because Leo, of course, brought the police and everyone to his door, he has to evacuate everyone through these tunnels while also trying to help Leo. And what does Leo do? He ends up falling off a roof as he's supposed to be escaping and gets tased and caught. And immediately, pretty much as soon as he's taken to the hospital after all of that, ends up getting, released and sent out to freedom. So that whole him getting caught scene did nothing other than proving that he is not helping this revolution anymore, or anyone for that matter, especially not his daughter. But that scene apparently had to be in this movie because Lord knows it wasn't long enough. Whereas Willa is brought to this convent of like warrior nuns, and she's kind of trained a little bit more. Like she already knows karate, but she's, kickboxing. She's learning how to use guns, things like that. And up to this point, Leo also, in addition to becoming an alcoholic, incompetent father, also told her that her mom was a hero and that Sean Penn's character had killed her. And so the nuns are there to be like, yeah, your mom was a rat. She got people killed. She was trouble. And I can see in your eyes that you're trouble too. And so she's having a day. And so obviously Rich White Guy Club ends up finding out about Sean Penn's little secret because he's drawn so much attention to it that they end up sending this one guy to kind of clean up the mess, basically, meaning to take out Sean Penn and Willa. Because they know that Sean Penn's trying to go clean up his mistake anyway, because he was so obvious about it. So Sean Penn ends up taking the convent, taking Willa. They do a DNA test right there in the convent, find out she's actually his daughter, and he takes her to a bounty hunter to take her to a white militia to take her out, basically. And again, Sean Penn is still just absolutely crazy. He's like, I did love your mother. He's like, we could have gotten to know each other, but you just don't have any manners or respect. And he's absolutely insane still. And so once Sean Penn drops her off, he ends up getting taken out by the rich white guy assassin. And then that guy ends up trying to go after Willa, who I guess the bounty hunter had second thoughts about dropping off a kid. So he ends up going to take out the white militia guys that are supposed to take her out, and then gets taken out himself. Willa gets his car keys, takes off. And then we have the white assassin guy who's going after her. Leo is actually hot on the trail at this point because he might not be completely useless. But Benicio del Toro's character definitely helped him to get to that point at least. And then he had some sense, maybe a little bit. And then the whole thing turns out that Willa ends up laying a trap for the assassin guy. Good for her, takes him out. Leo shows up and finds her. She has a little bit moment of shock and stuff, and they have to work through it for 30 seconds. Meanwhile, this whole scene was drawn out so freaking long for no reason. And yeah, everything's fine. Except then you see a super bloody face Sean Penn walking away from the wreckage after, you know, he'd been shot in the head. And his car, like, flipped and was on fire. But anyway. And then he ends up back in a meeting with the, you know, Rich White Guy Association. And he's got a messed up face. And they're making him think like, oh yeah, you're totally in now. Good for you. Yeah. Let's show you to your new office. And then they gas him in the office. And so he died anyway. And they just cremated him on the spot. So all of this was so pointless. It was so pointless. Just all of it. And then it gets worse, because the worst part of this entire movie is in fact right before the end, because Leo and his daughter are all making up. He tells her the truth and everything. They seem, you know, on better footing. He seems more sober. And then he goes, I was debating giving you this, but a couple years back, your mom wrote you a letter. And they read the letter from the mom, and they actually try to romanticize her like a good guy. Like, she's like, oh, you know, if it's right, someday you'll come find me. You didn't want to be her mom. You didn't like her. And then you left and got your people killed. And you cheated on her dad. All of this is bad. You're not a good person. I don't care how much you change. You don't romanticize that person. You don't make it seem that easy for the daughter to just forgive her like that. And then, of course, the daughter ends up joining the revolution, and Leo seems way more chill. That part, fine, sure, whatever. But the whole fact that the mom got any kind of redemption arc and she wasn't even on screen is infuriating. And again, dark romance. But the bad ones, not the good ones. This movie makes me angry because it could have done something better for the state of the world today. But instead, it made what should have been the good guys look like incompetent morons, and it made the bad guys, I mean, super powerful. And unfortunately, the only one who was worth watching was one of the main bad guys, Sean Penn. This movie sucked. Also, the score for the whole thing kept you so on edge the whole time. It was just someone banging on a keyboard, which in another movie might have been fine, but it just... The whole point of one battle after another is that this movie doesn't let up, and the score very much helped this movie not let up. It kept you on the edge of your seat even when nothing was happening, which nothing is happening a good chunk of this movie. This movie sucked, and it's probably going to win Best Picture, and I'm so mad because this movie should not be encouraged at all. It might be a timepiece in a couple of decades, but right now it's not helping the way the world sees either side. And there's gonna be people out there that are just like, you just don't understand the message. You're part of the problem. You are 100% a part of the problem. You are why people think we're idiots. I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I don't want to do this again. I really don't. I don't want to do another one of these where I don't like the movie, where I have to get too political, where the world just kind of makes these bad things popular. And again, it's not even the world that made it popular. It was the award season that I loved so much, because they had to pick something that was this obscure, but this Oscar baity, and they fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and now it's going to ruin their credibility for years to come. And I hate that. And I hate that it's happening when I finally have a platform to talk about it, because I should be absolutely spreading how awesome this is. And I'm not, because I just lost almost 3 hours of my life with this, and I just lost the rest of it having to talk about it here. But dang it, I had to talk about one of the big Oscar, frontrunners that no one had heard of before it got nominated. So if you liked this video, thank you for bearing with me. I'd super appreciate you checking out my other stuff that's not like this. And maybe subscribe to the channel, or give the video a like, or share it out to other people. Or the other videos out to other people. But here we are. Soon I'll be talking about my picks and things like that, as well as reactions to like the SAG Awards and such. But this movie wasn't great. It hopefully is the outlier of my videos, but here we are. Oh, also please check me out on Patreon. I've been Obscure Girl. and the rest is confetti.